Now you continue.
I was just going to make it a motion, to make it formal. Formally request staff to bring those options back. Is that all right?
He would like a motion, so that's fine.
Yeah.
It's your call.
So I don't know. You want more detail than that?
No. What I want to do is I want to just get a seconder to it, and then I can certainly open it for discussion. So I've got my mover seconder. So there is a motion on the floor, so I'll entertain any discussion on that motion for staff to bring back a report so we can discuss further. Councillor Brunton, to the motion, please.
Yes, Mayor Luke, and I was the next speaker, but I'll just leave it at this, that I would hope when they're looking at that give some consideration to projects that are, use the word oil sensitive, because it's not going to get any cheaper. We're looking at 1/3 the cost for AC, and who knows, a few years from now it might be back to $150 a ton, or oil, that is. Thank you.
Councillor Oliver.
Support the motion. I think it's what we have to do now. The only thing I would say, and I'm not putting words in my colleague's mouth to staff, but to me, this is a kind of situation where we're not going to have money every year to do something special. And my only fear is that this $250,000 will just disappear into the black hole of infrastructure. Whether it's buying AC, whether it's filling potholes, whether it's paving a half a kilometer of road or whatever we might get. And we'll never think about it, we'll never know really what impact it had. So I hope staff will come up with some suggestions that are unique and special and will allow us to say, yeah, I remember the year we allocated that money to this special capital project.
Councillor Height, to the motion.
Thank you, Mayor Luke. I hope one of the options that staff come back with is keeping that money in the piggy bank. It's not burning a hole in my pockets for roads. We kicked in $2 million extra through the investment on the legacy funds already, and I'd like to see some interest coming back on that $250 since we didn't have to burn it anyway.
Well, when the report comes back, I too have a few ideas, but obviously I can't speak to that tonight because there's a motion and I got to stay out of the discussion, and I will. Any further discussion? Motion that staff be directed to present potential infrastructure options for allocation of the $250,000 in funds from the Legacy Fund. Further discussion? Those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. They will bring back infrastructure, but that doesn't preclude council throwing out ideas that aren't infrastructure. It's carried, by the way. Thank you. Thanks, James. Reports of council members in the event of sitting on an advisory committee. Anything to report to us or other committees? I will go to bylaws then. Moved by Brunton, seconded by Wells. The bylaws 6Z 2017 to 10Z 2017 inclusive and 2017-14 to 2017-19 inclusive be passed, signed by the mayor and clerk and affixed with the corporate seal. Any discussion on that motion or those bylaws? Councillor Height, please.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, did you say the 8Z-2017? Because that's that one for all the amendments and things like that. Is that in your list? I couldn't catch it.
Which
Page 104.
8Z, it was 6Z 2017 to 10, so that is correct.
Because we pulled parts of that, right? That's your building height and all the other
Andrew,
sections.
what do you think there?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, council approved the They approved the bylaw. What they're requiring is a further report back from staff.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the bylaw part we approved. It was these extra two things we wanted to report on, or the one. Well, there were two: parking and the height. Good question. Any further discussion? Okay, so good housekeeping. Those in favor? It's carried. There are no motions. Are there any notice of motions? Not tonight. Okay, other business, and then it's on to confirming bylaw. James, I'm going to start over here. Do you have anything to share with us?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. We had a discussion earlier council about the tax rates for farmland. We are bringing forward a tax ratio report before the final tax levy will be billed out. And at that report, Sue Bugner prepares it. She does a very good job explaining the tax ratios and so on and so forth. So my question to council is, would you like something included in that related to the farm issue? We could include that in the report. Also, I believe through the miracle of technology, Sue emailed me, and she remembers John Ford bringing a similar report 2 or 3 years ago. I guess it's not the first time the farming community has asked for the tax ratios to be adjusted. So we could either do one of two things. We could include some of that report in the tax ratio report, or perhaps we can recirculate that report that John did a few years ago if it's still
Well,
up to
I
date.
can only speak for myself, but certainly if it was a topic at advisory, I think we should, personally, if, you know, I'm not looking for gobs of work, but if you could bring something, I'm in favor, and I'll entertain any show of hands that would be in favor of looking at the farm tax rate on the farmland. Yeah, okay. So just something, you don't have to bring us 30 pages, but, you know, just something that we can consider. If you want to dig the former one out too, that's fine. I'll leave it up to you.
Perfect.
Yeah. Anybody go get the former report, it's already done. So, but if you want to bring it and make it available, sure, why not?
Mayor, the last time we dealt with this, it was a few years ago, it was the Federation of Agriculture brought the concern forward. This
Yeah.
time it's the Ag Advisory.
I think there was, yeah. The Federation, this time Ag, okay, advisory. Anything else?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Baird?
Nothing else? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and Acting County Manager, Ms. Webb.
Nothing, thank you, this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Clerk, how are you sitting there?
Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, you
Mr. Mayor.
devil. Oh, boy. Oh. Okay, I wasn't expecting that, pardon? Am I blushing? What's your name again? Mr. Cridlin.
Sorry to say Andy stole my line, so nothing else.
Nothing,
Bill.
thank you, Mr.
Nothing,
Mayor.
and Ms. Robinson?
I'd just like to remind council that next Tuesday is Ugly Sweater Night, and we'll be turning the temperature down in council chambers by a degree. Yes.
Okay. Might be a short meeting, who knows? Councillor Columbus, I'm going to start with you. Other business?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. As you probably heard already, I was quite disappointed when we received this letter back from the MTO. This was addressed to Mr. Gary Houghton of the Public Works Department, whereby there was no action to be taken with respect to the Fertilizer Road Provincial Highway 3 intersection. And as most people know, this is a very busy traveled Highway 3. There's also a lot of farm vehicles that cross this intersection to the FS elevators and the fertilizer plant, and just general, during the tobacco season, there's always vehicles crossing that intersection. There have been several accidents there. Now, I am pleased to report, though, in speaking with Mr. Kevin Plutt, the traffic supervisor for MTO, yesterday afternoon, after I spoke to the Simcoe Reformer, he has now informed me that they will be taking another look at this because they perhaps did not have the latest information to consider from the OPP with respect to the collisions at this intersection. I know there was a couple pretty serious ones. I think it was back in the fall. And he had indicated that perhaps they didn't have the latest statistics on this, so they are going to be taking another look at it. Okay?
Thank you. On this topic, sure.
On this topic, and I totally support Councillor Columbus on this because that is a bad, if anybody's ever been through there, it is very difficult because of the configuration. It's not at a right angle, it's like this type of an angle. And even, I don't know if they look at the approaches, when you're coming from the north to number 3 highway, I find that road, number 3 comes up really quick. I I mean, there needs to be better warnings, better stop signs, better configuration. It just needs to be more square. So I agree with you that hopefully they'll have a look at that. Even lights.
Mr. Mayor, just to add, I had suggested that they put in larger stop signs with flashing lights, perhaps solar powered, similar to what we've done on the Brantford Road where there have been some serious collisions and other parts of the Fertilizer Road. So they are looking to consider that in this next review. When that will actually happen, I don't know, but it looks like they're going to take another look. I guess the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Councillor Black, you're on your feet. I'm going to let you do other business, please.
I do have one thing. I don't know if you recall a while back, the Poverty Action Partnership for Hullum and Norfolk came and requested that council have someone attend their meetings, and you allowed me to do that. So I have been attending their meetings. It's kind of a slow go, for them to try and get organized and increase the awareness of people in poverty. But they are having a workshop. It's called Transforming Our Work Through the Eyes of Our Community. It is Wednesday, May the 10th, 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. It will be at the Port Dover Lions Community Center, 801 St. George Street in downtown Port Dover. And the speakers, Iona Sky. So there's some quality speakers. Lance Logan on youth justice. And there's a registration number. I could forward this to, forward it to the clerk for distribution. But there is a cost of $30, but it includes lunch. And also with the Poverty Action Partnership of Hullum and Norfolk, they seem to be getting some inroads with the ministry and the churches, trying to get them on board and get them organized with some, so they can identify some potential programs to support people in poverty. So just an update.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sonnenberg. Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Thank you, Councillor Geisens.
Thank you. You're not going to believe it. I have an issue. This is actually for Lee. I got an email from somebody in Langton saying that, and complaining about the amount of salt that's going on to the sidewalks, because they also are worried about their wells being contaminated. I don't know if anybody could have a look at it and see what's happening. It's the first time I've had any kind of complaint. Okay.
Certainly staff will look into it.
Thank you.
That's it? Thank you, sir. Councillor Height.
Thank you, Mayor Luke. I have just one thing that I need to bring to council's attention here, and that has to deal with something that we're going over with at the Conservation Authority. It has to deal with safe access and egress for Turkey Point and Long Point. Right now, what's kind of jamming us up over there is we've decided to implement a policy, and that one states that all areas must have safe access and egress. Long Point and Turkey Point do not. So this is causing us all kinds of headaches over there. We're having to have hearing boards for all development applications because we have to overrule on those topics. So we've been debating on how we're going to work on the policy, and one of the things is we need something from Norfolk County, and we need a safe access plan. And we've decided on the board that we're going to give Norfolk County 6 months worth, or we're going to word our hearing or our applications to say that Norfolk County is working on a plan. So I sort of formally have to get us to work on a plan. I know Mr. Cridlin, he's met with the Conservation Authority staff, or I hope he has. And I'm hoping that tonight we can direct staff to come back to us with a report within 3 months, because it's causing us a real traffic jam over there right now. Well, a log jam, I guess, would be more like it. We're having hearing applications for every single development application. And maybe Mr. Cridlin could speak to that and bring us up to date.
Sure, through the mayor. We've had one meeting. The meetings are led by the fire chief. We've had the Conservation Authority at the board, OPP, EMS staff. We're having with planning staff. I don't know when our next meeting is scheduled, but I'll talk to Terry. I know it was going to be within probably the next month or so. And where we're at now is we're going through things such as early warning of storms, public education, that sort of thing. As far as getting people safely off the point, Long Point is the big issue. Turkey Point, you can argue there's two ways in. I don't think it's in the issue that Long Point has. But yeah, we're just in preliminary talks right now, but we are moving along with that. As far as the 3-month deadline, I would maybe like to, if I could report back next week once I talk to the chief, because when we sat down, there was no magic bullet for this, but we just got into talks. But we can speed things up if that's what council wishes. And I think by next week, I'll be able to say 3 months is realistic, or we're going to need 4 or 5 to throw this together.
Okay, I'd appreciate that, because it's really squeezing us, and we need some action here sooner rather than later. It's been a long time, and it's impractical for Norfolk County to raise the road base up the 1 point whatever meters it is. It's not going to work for us. So we might need that 250,000 for the Healy pad, and I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes on Long Point.
Councillor Brunton, please.
Thank you, Mayor Luke. I have a couple quick things here. One, it's kind of odd here. We've asked James to look at 250,000, how to spend it, but we've sent you back to find 250,000 in savings in the budget. So when will we receive that back? When will we find out where you plan to save that money?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, presently some options are being put together, and SLT is going to review those options, and once that has been done, then it'll be presented to council.
Can you give me a time frame approximate?
I would say next 2 or 3 weeks.
Thank you. My second question, I guess, would be to Marlene. Same question, Marlene. I'm not sure how you're going to deal with it. We had asked you to bring back the health budget at a reduced amount, 10%, I believe it was. Are you going to bring that back to committee first, or are you going to bring it right to the board? How did you plan on doing that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Brunton, we're actually writing the report right now, and we have canceled the Board of Health meeting for February as there were no reports. However, we will be taking the report to advisory for March and then presenting it at the Board of Health in March as well.
So in March we will hear it at committee. Did I hear that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And my last concern, and I've talked to Lee briefly about this, and I guess I'm kind of at a lot. I've had some concerns with Jalen Crescent, as Councillor Wells is aware of. I've had spoken with 2 individuals there. I didn't speak to them, they spoke to me, I guess is a better way of putting it. But concerns of what's going on there, and I've really got, I guess, badgered on it. And I guess my question, I'm not sure where we're going with this whole thing, and I did speak to Lee, and can anybody clarify for me if there is some direction we are going in, or how it's going to be handled?
Are you speaking on the road encroachment and the road upgrading, et cetera?
Yeah.
Okay, because I think there's more than
Where did we leave
more
it?
than one issue. So Lee, do you wish to just comment on this, please? And then Chris, you may too, I don't know.
To the Mayor, to Council, Councillor Brunton and I spoke about this earlier. I'm going to do some research. I have a recollection of the direction that was provided to staff. I do not recall whether or not it was in camera or not in camera, and so I don't want to speak about it in open session if it was in fact in camera. So I will do some research and I will respond to Council, but I prefer not to respond in a public forum if in fact it wasn't done in a public forum previously.
I can't remember.
That's fair. I'm not sure. I'm a little confused after where we had left off with that issue. And,
Okay.
And I did have some questions which I provided to Lee and had been provided to me about actual dedication of the roadway and so forth. So I'd like those things to be addressed in the report or in her update. Thank you.
Okay, Lee, thank you. I have Councillor Wells.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, did I hear this correctly? We're going to give the $250,000 to Councillor Height so he can go away? Is that what I heard?
It wouldn't take that much.
Thank you very much. I'll go away pay for 250. Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, you find it very difficult to believe this, but some people in Port Dover want to pay their bills, but they only want to pay them a little bit at a time. And the water system, billing system that we have put in place is causing some confusion in terms of, I think there was a 15-day period where a bill came in, and now I think I'd like to ask Ms. Robinson, will we be on track, and the next one will be for a month, and thereafter it'll be monthly?
Through the mayor to council, all ratepayers were notified that there would be some changes in their billing date, and we'd be going through sort of a transition period where their billing date would vary. That being said, by the time they receive their March bills, the bills that they receive for their March bill will be their new billing date, and will continue on a monthly basis using that date from March going forward. There was a huge variety of different billing dates, and it was a bit of an administrative nightmare that they've been cleaning up.
And I think I tried to explain that, and thank you very much for that. And obviously, Mr. Mayor, there are many people on fixed incomes, and when they pay their bill, they can only pay it once. That's all.
And through the mayor to council, we have had some people call in with those sorts of concerns, and we've certainly worked with them, recognizing that they have some of those limitations, and we have worked with them to work out arrangements so that they're not in any kind of distress over the situation.
And I thank you very much for working with them. And I think they just want stabilization, that's all, and know that it's not going to happen every month. So, me too. And the only other thing I want to comment on, Mr. Mayor, is believe it or not, we got electricity in Port Dover, and we have TV. However, believe it or not, there are some people that want to watch this council, but they tell me that they can't get it. Personally, I don't have it, but I just wonder, and because if you don't have the right TV provider, then you don't get council. And what the question was asked to me is, are we ever planning on trying to get TV for all of Norfolk County? And I guess that would be our, I'll stop talking now.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we love when any cable company or satellite company or internet company decides to carry our feed. We really do appreciate it when they do. We aren't in the cable business, and we can't make demands upon local cable providers. So what we do is we tell people, contact your service provider and tell them how important watching council video is. And hopefully, if they get enough calls, they'll say, hey, yeah, we want to carry that, because the more people that we can reach, the better.
Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I'm last. I have a few items, but they're short. Councillor Wells, you know my father. He's doing pretty good. He's almost 86. He's doing very well. Yes, he does. And he doesn't have to attend council meetings with you. But to make a long story short, he used to be on a satellite television. And then for some reason he decided he wanted to watch council meetings. So he got rid of the satellite and he went on to the cable. Guess what he's watching now? He's back on satellite. Just leave it at that. I have a few things here. Number one, I was asked, pardon? I think it's my turn for other business. Would you be quiet, please? I just want to remind staff, my staff is remind council and the public is really that we do have flags for sale for Norfolk County. People ask about them from time to time. And also the Canada 150. The first order is sold out. Obviously a one-time deal, but I was asked by staff if I would just publicly say, don't forget we do have flags. Sometimes people say, well, where do we pick up a county flag? Or now we've got 2 flags we sell here for $40, and they're very nice. Question for you, Mr. Baird. Council, you'll know in your information package, the first item from Chris Lutzy, our senior public health inspector, is about another rabid stray cat found near Caledonia. So we've all read that and we understand this is pretty serious stuff. I have had 2 calls from both of them, Norfolk County residents. One is late as yesterday in the urban area that a raccoon was in the backyard, and certainly we know with the mild winter conditions, I'm sure some animals are saying, gee, I'm hungry, I'm woke up, I'm not too bad. Anyhow, long story short, this lady explained to me that suspected that the raccoon that hung around all day was perhaps rabid, called the OPP. The OPP officer came and shot the raccoon. But end of the OPP's duty, they do not dispose of them. Has been told not to bury it because it can contaminate the water table. So asked me what to do. I remember bringing this up, sometime in the last year, and she said the officer also came back a second time and said no longer are police going to come out for raccoons that are or wildlife. We've been through it with the coyotes, etc. So what to do? Should the county not have some sort of... Mr. Baird, I know I brought this up before, and I was told, I believe, don't remember everything, that if you suspect there's a rabid animal of any nature in your yard, you should call the police. I know that we do not come out and pick up dead animals, etc. Do you have any advice I could give her?
Mr. Mayor, that's a really difficult question. Whether an animal has got distemper or rabies or poses a threat, I don't want to say everyone should call the OPP, but certainly the examples that you've cited where an animal is dispatched is I think the correct term. I know the Simcoe District Humane Society is accepting the carcasses, the livers or components of the animals are tested by the Ministry of Natural Resources to determine if they in fact have rabies or what the nature is. And it's part of their reporting system. But the county doesn't have a wild animal control program. And I have to commend Mr. Enslin. In the last few months of 2016, we did engage our local, our animal control service provider, Hillside Kennels, with the authority to deal with those phone calls. And in some cases, they would humanely trap and look after those animals. But we don't have a budget for it. It was more just a temporary service. And Mrs. Moran and I are going to be talking about this tomorrow at SLT because certainly Mr. Lutzy, our senior public health inspector, has issued that press release about what to do. We want to make sure that the community knows what the options are, what we can do. I suspect we're going to have a quick report coming to council very soon that will seek some direction because nothing is free, of course, and we'll get a bit more of the background about the nature of it. Mr. Lutzy's press release is very well written. It does explain that there have been quite a number of raccoons and skunks, but only one or two cats that had that strain. So I wouldn't want to comment anymore, but just give you the assurance that we are going to put together some sort of information or response for council, and it may include ramping up our animal control program so that we can get through the rest of the winter months, and we'll see what happens from there. Okay.
Yeah, I always feel like when I'm not sure, I always feel like I'm passing the buck a little bit, and I certainly am aware that we do not have an animal control for wild animals. And it makes it difficult because people have a genuine concern. Three other things, and I'll be quick. I was at this past Monday. That's not true. It was last Thursday. I was invited to tour in downtown Simcoe. Excuse me, I'm getting a sore throat. Dr. Schauker's orthodontic clinic above Leon's, right on the northwest corner of Norfolk and Robinson. Toured his renovated facility. Unbelievable. Why am I bringing this forward? He has asked me if I would invite council, those that could attend, Saturday, February the 25th. It's not far away. It's a week Saturday to his pre-Oscar gala reopening. It's from 1 to 5. And the reason I'm sort of bringing this up is, excuse me, if you can make it, you have to come and see it. In this orthodontics, dentistry office, whatever you want to go, is a theater. Is a theater of probably 15, 20 seats for people while they're waiting and kids to watch movies. With real theater seats, big theater screen, theater carpet. It's amazing. So if you're around that afternoon, please come and support. Here is a downtown investment of a major magnitude that you'd have to see it to believe it, but you don't see it unless you're a patient or get invited. So I wanted to extend his invite. I told him I would personally invite council to go to that. It's February the 25th. Go ahead, throw things, beat up on me, I deserve it. February the 25th, 1 to 5, and the official sort of ceremonies will be right after 1 o'clock. Have to see it to believe it. I just can't believe it. Two more things. I mentioned earlier that we forgot to do something at budget, and I know what it is because I wrote it down. Otherwise, I would have forgot. Back in November, December, early, we had a deputation from NGH, Norfolk General Hospital, from Kelly Esfand, asking us to consider donating $50,000 over the next 3 years for doctor recruitment again. And I remember I was sitting in your chair, so I believe it was December the 6th, your first meeting. The motion was passed. I looked it up, that we forward it to the budget session for consideration. I'll take the heat. I forgot to bring it up, but it was a motion. How do you suggest we bring that request forward? Because we do have a motion of committee to do it at budget session.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think we sought some input from Mr. Ford, and we haven't heard back from him yet on how to address this, because usually it would have been brought forward during the budget deliberations. But if council desires, I mean, we can add it to an agenda. The challenge is the budget deliberations are over, so at this stage it's...
Except for $250,000.
Except for $250,000, we could have that discussion at the same time that we discuss the $250,000.
I certainly have thought of that dilemma, but I certainly hate to put something in motion of council that we're going to do something, and then we forget, if I can use that term, myself included, but I think we should discuss it. And I mean, if we were in favor of doing something, even if it was next year, and I don't want to get into discussion. Okay, I'll just leave it with you folks for now, because I didn't want somebody to come back and say, I thought you were going to deal with the budget. Well, yeah, we were. As a matter of fact, the motion clearly stated we would. Yes, Councillor Black?
So we're going to send this back to staff, and they're going to do it. Could when they do that, could they provide some background information, how long we've been donating for doctor recruitment, just to refresh my own memory, and how much we've given them to date?
Well, I can answer that, but if you want staff to, that's fine. But we did 3 years, and we finished last, it was 14, 15, and 16. But you can check that, 50,000.
We've only given it for 3 years?
3 years at 50,000.
That's it?
However,
I thought there was some
James, if you
before.
want to even a memo to us on that, if you don't mind, if you want to jot that down, you can even give it to us in an email.
Absolutely, Mr.
Okay,
Mayor, I can do
I
that.
don't want reports and reports. Do you want to give us just what we have donated in the years, just to be clear? And then we'll leave it with you to think how we bring that back. Okay? But I really think we're better to at least discuss it and see what we come up with and just ignore it. I don't like doing business that way. Last item, I promise, and then we're out of here. I know you'd want to. Just a very quick background. Back in the fall, Mr. Criddle and I attended a meeting at Wellington Park in downtown Simcoe. And there is a group that has come together, and they are considering and working on, I have to say, looking at, for a Canada 150 celebration event, looking at replacing the fountain in the park there with another one. Maybe not as big, don't know. And in the meantime, while we looked and had a meeting in the park, all of us there, including Mr. Cridlin, but I'll let him speak in a moment, said, what's left of that crumbling fountain is a safety issue. It's an eyesore, and it needs to be removed. So I'm going to just turn it over, and of course, the new committee would like it removed, would wonder if they're not coming to council that I know of to look for money for the fountain, but they are looking if there's assistance for the county to remove and dispose of the fountain. That's just simply, well, I wouldn't want any kid crawling up on it. It's just, it's crumbling. So, Mr. Cridlin, could I ask you for a couple comments, and then I'll get back to council, then I'll do the confirming bylaw. Thank you.
Through the Mayor, County Council, yeah, the mayor is correct. If you've seen the fountain lately, it's got a million issues with it. It's got some cover panels that you can lift up. A kid could go in. There's pinch points all over, exposed rebar. So I'd actually met with Tracy Borland from Risk Management as well. And when you look at this thing, it is a no-brainer to remove it for liability sakes. The thing I was worried about and talked to the mayor about was I didn't want, if it was removed immediately, I didn't want people coming out of the woodwork. What's going on? What's the plan? So we thought we'd talk to council tonight, and if it is removed, we can do it in-house. I've talked to a local contractor as well as Public Works, and we think it's a fairly quick job to get out. We could make very quick work of this, level the site back off, and then it's an open canvas more or less for a group that wants to come in and do something with it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cridlin. Councillor Black on this topic.
For many years, lots of people have approached me saying it's been a disgraceful situation to allow it to deteriorate to the point that it is now. It is unfortunate, and I know every year I suffered the brunt of those comments, as we always have a tent next to the Lions Club chip wagon, so it was quite convenient for people to stop in and chew my ear off. That's why I'm deaf on this side, and I can hear on this side. So anyway, it's a good idea to get rid of it, and I agree that it'll leave something, a green site, so to speak, or a blank canvas for someone to do something different with. I'm not so sure another fountain is the best idea, because that didn't work out in the past. I mean, it was vandalized quite frequently, people putting soap in it, and soap, clogging up the motors and the jets and causing a lot of maintenance problems, and I'm just not so sure, unless there's some kind of bubble-resistant technology out there, or maybe it would be a bonus to put soap in there and watch the bubbles go up. I don't know if it works, but I'd caution the whole idea of a fountain. It'd be lovely. I'd love to see a nice fountain there. It'd be great if it works. And key is, and I'm sure Bill knows about it, you got to make it 100% vandal-proof.
Well, Councillor Black, just to conclude, what I'm looking for tonight, and Mr. Cridlin, is council to give a show of hands or approval to go ahead and remove what's there. As far as this committee and the proposal for a new one, certainly it couldn't be put in without council's permission. I think that's stage 2. But I'll tell you, if you think there isn't a safety issue, after the meeting I can take you down, and I think you'd be quite surprised. We're pretty lucky somebody hasn't fallen down in that pit and got seriously hurt. Anyhow, could I, if there isn't any further discussion, could I have a show of hands to remove that? Thank you, and I certainly support that too. Thank you. That's all I have. I'll get to the confirming bylaw. Thank you, Mr. Cridlin, for your work on that. And as far as any further discussions with the fountain, if there is, they'll be coming forward here, okay? Moved by Brunton, seconded by Wells, bylaw 1720, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of Norfolk County at this council meeting held on the 14th day of February 2017 be passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, fixed with the corporate seal. Those in favor? And I want to say thank you very much, staff and council, and good evening. We're adjourned.